Welcome, newcomers. I'm Epiphany, and if you're returning, welcome back. This is part two of Unlearning Grooming Culture, and today we're pulling the veil off of a softer, sneakier form of control respectability politics. Today, we're getting into how church, school, and even our own families taught us to perform goodness instead of becoming whole. We'll talk about how women, often with good intentions, pass down silence, shame, and submission in the name of protection. But the truth is, when we teach girls to chase being seen as good over being seen at all, we set them up to be controlled. So let's unpack that. And let me remind you, this is a safe space for survivors, for truth tellers, and for women who are done shrinking to survive. So let's get into it. Respectability politics equals emotional grooming. Let's talk about how respectability politics are actually a soft form of emotional grooming because it starts young, y'all. For me, I remember church being less about connecting with God and more about how do we look to other people. Don't wear anything too grown. Don't act too free. Be on your best behavior so and so doesn't think we're raised wrong. It wasn't about faith. It was about image, performance, control. And that's the sad part because a real relationship with God could have taught us how to build structure in both our spiritual and physical relationships. But instead, we were taught to focus on appearances over alignment. And in school, let's be honest, pick me behavior was basically part of the curriculum. We were encouraged to be seen by boys before we were ever taught how to see ourselves. We were babies being told to get a boyfriend or chase young love like it was our rite of passage instead of actual identity formation. Wild. And inside families, it was the same vibe. We were taught more about memorizing rules than building self worth. It was don't talk back, look presentable, fix your face. Never what do you think or how do you feel about who you're becoming or what type of person do you want to grow into. Fast forward to adulthood and it's the workplace. You got great ideas, but somehow the man with mediocre suggestions gets all the praise. They can crack inappropriate jokes, but you're expected to smile politely and keep it professional. You're too emotional if you speak up. You're too aggressive if you challenge it. This is grooming, but here's the twist. It's usually other women enforcing it. The aunties, the moms, the supervisors, the grandmothers, and the church mothers. They've been trained to uphold a system that never really made space for them either. As girls, we rarely got to be unregulated. We were groomed to conform before we ever got a chance to discover our own magnificence. And without that space for real self discovery, we grow up disconnected from our true self concept. Then we hit adulthood trying to rebuild what we never got to build in the first place. So here's the truth: upholding other standards steals time. You lose years of your life performing instead of living. You forget what you like, who you are. You shrink. And they call it well raised. I'm not here for that. We're unlearning all of it because your worth is not determined by your ability to be agreeable. Police to be virtuous when women enforce the grooming code. Let's talk more about how grooming culture isn't always enforced by men. Sometimes, a lot of the times, it's passed down by women. And in the Black community specifically, we've all heard it. Cover up. Your cousin so and so is coming over. Or take that red lipstick off, or those red nails, you look too grown. And at school, we were told to cover our shoulders, cover our curves, because the male teacher might get distracted. Now let that sink in. We were the distraction. They were the victims of their own lack of self control or awareness. These rules weren't about safety, they were about conditioning, control disguised as protection. So here's the thing: when women are told to protect themselves from male behavior instead of men being taught to control themselves, that's not protection, it's grooming. And let's be clear, there are three types of women who enforce these codes: the protectors. They mean well. They think they're keeping you safe by enforcing the rules society gave them, but they never truly challenge the source of the danger. So they protect the predator and not the girl. The respect hoarders. They shame other women to gain approval from men. They say things like, she shouldn't have worn that, because being better than her is how they try to earn safety or respect and praise. Assimilation in exchange for the protection that never comes. And the oblivious. They follow the rules blindly. They don't question why the rules even exist. They're just keeping the cycle alive without realizing it's even a cycle. And all three, dangerous in different ways. One protects the predator, one sacrifices sisterhoods for scraps of praise, and one doesn't even know the damage she's causing. And let's be honest, this whole idea of being virtuous is designed for male comfort. Because if women are responsible for purity, then men don't have to be responsible for self control. The pressure falls on the moms, the sisters, the friends, the daughters to prevent what men should have been taught to manage themselves. It's not virtue, that's a misplaced responsibility. That's how silence gets inherited. That's how shame becomes legacy, but not over here. We're breaking that pattern on purpose. When silence isn't shame, it's strategy. Let's talk about what it really means when a survivor stays silent. So, right now, y'all, as I record this, my abuser is tagging me on social media, threatening to expose me. But me not responding, that's not shame, that's power. Because when someone shows you they're a predator, the most powerful thing that you can do is limit access. They're not seeking justice, they're seeking your energy. See, where you once had no boundaries, where your self worth was still developing, you were their fix. Their ego fed off your confusion, your silence, and your softness. But now you've outgrown the script. You no longer play the role they cast you in. And that drives them wild. Because when you stop upholding the same broken standards that allowed them to use you, they panic, they perform, and they act out. Not for your sake, but to prove to everyone else that they're still in control when they're not. And they know it. They can't pull energy from your body anymore. So now they want your attention, your reaction, your voice. But here's the thing: silence, when chosen from a place of clarity and not fear, is no longer compliance, it's control. I don't waste my energy throwing stones at a predator. I live in peace. I educate. And I'm protected by the Most High God, because their connection to me, my youth, my vitality, my voice, is what gave them a false sense of power in the first place. And now that I've reclaimed it, they're left scrambling. Their last hope: that I'll stay quiet about what happened, that I'll carry their secrets so they can keep their little image. But I don't. I speak. I write. I teach. I reclaim my story, not to relive it, but to release it. I don't respond to threats because I don't negotiate with broken systems that praise men for their degradation. I don't fight for closure from someone who was never even whole. If anything I shared today with you hit home, breathe. You're not crazy, you're not dramatic, and you're just waking up. We don't heal by clapping back. We heal by cutting the cord, by reclaiming our energy, our boundaries, and our power. And if you're ready to go deeper, really rebuild your sense of self from the inside out, head to honeyandhandsailing.com and join my Reclaim Your Power course. It's a space built by a survivor for survivors. You'll get worksheets, affirmations, tools, and deep guided reflections to help you grow into the woman you decide to be. No more shrinking, no more silence. You don't own anyone access because they once had it. I'm Epiphany. I survived. I'm healing. And I'm reclaiming my power on purpose. See you inside the course or in the next video.